Welcome back on Sheffield Live TV. Glad to say that Paul Warne, the Rotherham United manager, is still with us. And we have a debut on the show from an FA man. Now, FA men usually stay in the background in the shadows, but I'm delighted to welcome the Chief Executive of the Sheffield and Hallamshire FA to the programme, Simon Frost, who will, when we get onto the subject, Simon, in a few minutes' time, will have some helpful news, at least, for the many hundreds of players who are affiliated to the Sheffield and Hallamshire FA through the leagues, the grassroots game, who, along with all of us, are suffering football-wise and not in general at the moment, the uncertainty, but there will be a little bit of financial relief and some news that we can break in a moment on the show. But Paul, you'll have your sympathies there as well, because we tend to think of football as just the Premier League and the Football League, and there's so much of it going on, and people generally will be wondering, will we ever play football again?
Yeah, well, obviously we will, but we don't know when. That is true, but you think there's 71 Football League clubs now, aren't there? And is it 20 teams in the Premier League? Well, that's insignificant with how many play grassroots level. I mean, I even did a video message yesterday for kids team, under 12s and under 14s, who got through to the final. They didn't know if they could be able to play the final and all that. So grassroots, I mean, it's a big part of my life. I played non-league till I was 23, loved it. So I understand how far that reaches and how that touches communities and, keeps sports centres open with bars and food and everything. So it's a lot of people who are still involved in grassroots football, which is, I don't want my phone to talk to me. So.
Yeah, it's okay.
So it's a massive thing, and I understand there's some funding being put in place to keep it all going, because the way the football's run in this country, even to this day, that you can still, with a long shot, obviously, like you look at Salford, you can still come from non-league any level and still go through the pyramid system and get to the very top, and I think that makes our country quite unique. So you're only as good as your foundations, and hopefully you now get a report on will definitely help that.
Yeah, it's so important, as you say, to keep clubs at all levels going. We'll come back to the affairs of Rotherham United and the way that you're helping health workers down at York Stadium a little later. But let's bring Simon Frost in on that. I mean, there must be an enormous number of clubs that you are the umbrella organisation for, Simon.
Yeah, we have around 3,000 teams across our region, which is largely South Yorkshire. We also touch into areas of Kirklees, Bassetlaw, North East Derbyshire and Chesterfield. So, yeah, a huge patch with around 3,000 teams. 3,000
teams. And they all pay, customarily, they pay an affiliation fee to the Sheffield and Hallamshire FA. Now, this is where the news that you're going to bring us is concerned.
Yeah, sure. Of course, the County FA realises that these are difficult times for everybody, and we are really keen to make sure that we do our bit for grassroots clubs. The board decided quite early on that they would discount club and league affiliation fees for the coming season. So that means that clubs wouldn't pay an affiliation fee. This was then followed up by the FA, who then very, very generously offered us some additional funding to allow us to remove the fees for teams, which that combined effort now means that affiliation fees for next season, whenever that is, will not be payable. So essentially, affiliation for Sheffield and Hallamshire County FA next season is free, which is great news, I think, and will be most welcomed by all grassroots clubs at this time.
Absolutely. And now, what is the affiliation fee typically? Is it the same for clubs throughout the amateur game?
Yeah, broadly speaking, there are two levels of fees. The club fee was £19 last season, and the team fees are at £16 per individual team.
Yeah, so while that might not seem a lot of money, when you look at the number of teams that you're the organisation for, some 3,000, if you do the maths, and £19 per team, that's an awful lot of money, actually, isn't it, that you're losing?
Yeah, it is. It's a generous offer by the County FA and FA, and that runs into tens of thousands of pounds. Additionally to that, we've been helping Sport England to create awareness around a community emergency fund. Just this morning, we received news that around £100,000 worth of grant aid has been offered to football clubs across our region. So that also is phenomenal, and well done to all those clubs who have submitted successful grants to Sport England.
Yeah, that's really good news, and while I say, 19 quid doesn't sound a lot of money, and certainly, Paul, in terms of the professional game, it's only half your wages per week, isn't it? 19 quid, Paul, about that.
Thing is, if you run a team and you have, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in different age groups, it does add up. And for those teams who think, is it worth starting? Then we've got to get these fees. Then everyone's got to pay a fiver. Will there be the enthusiasm? By eradicating it, it should hopefully keep clubs who are uncertain whether to keep going think, no, we can keep going. This will be all right. And that might be the difference between clubs folding and not, and the football map looking different. So I think it is good news. And in fairness, I agree. It doesn't sound a lot independently, but collectively, it's a huge amount.
Yeah, absolutely, and well done to the Sheffield and Hallamshire FA. So is this going to be replicated throughout the country, or is this purely a Sheffield exercise, in initiative, as it were?
No one size fits all to that, Alan. The FA have generously offered each county FA an element of funding, but we operate as separate entities, so it's up to each individual board to make their own decisions. And ours, as I said earlier, we're very keen quite early on to ensure that we do all that we can to help our club. So we made sure that we completely removed the affiliation fees for next season. Different counties will take different approaches, but we were clear that we wanted to remove completely the fees for next season. So that's where we are. And as Paul said, I hope that that's well received amongst the grassroots clubs.
Yeah, well done on that. And also to Uriah Rennie, your chairman, because I know he's been heavily involved in the initiative as well.
Yeah, Uri's the chairman, and he's very clear. He's obviously in that position. He's a clear advocate of grassroots football, and he's always wanted us to do whatever we can to support grassroots football across our patch. So that's both in our, standard affiliated game, but also where we can touch other agendas, social inclusion, crime prevention, whatever that might be. Yuri's really keen that we use football and the power of football to generate good across our region.
Absolutely. Paul, the Premier League specifically doesn't concern you at the moment, but you hope that in the future the Championship will. And of course, you have experience as a Championship manager. Subjects come up this week again about parachute payments, and Rick Parry, the EFL chief executive, has made no bones about it. He's called the parachute payments an evil in the game, and he's looking to see them exterminated. What's your view on that?
Well, that's a good loaded question. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I can understand the Premier League's position on it because they want the best players in the world to come over, so they give out the best contracts, but they don't really have a massive drop if they come to the Championship. So the Premier League clubs, if they're going to invest in good players, need some sort of security blanket if they come down. So I understand the logic from the Premier League's point of view, and what club would turn that money down. However, the other side of the coin is, which you've seen in recent years, that the teams in League One that come up find it very difficult to compete against, obviously, the teams who have just dropped out of the Premier League. Not only the Premier League money and the wages obviously get you a better player, but if they've been in the Premier League for a few years, their actual foundation, their training ground, their facilities are going to be head and shoulders above any League One club. And I think, historically, over the last probably 10 years, I would say most teams that have come up from League One, apart from probably Sheffield United, have struggled to stay up for more than 2-3 years. And you just have to look at the bottom three again this year in the Championship. Like Wigan have always periphorated around there as well. So there was one season a few years ago that Wigan, Blackburn and us came down from the Champ, and then we all went back up again. And obviously, unfortunately, we came down again last year. Wigan were just missed it. And again, they're just missed it again at the moment. But like Barnsley have gone back up again, and it's difficult. So I just think it's not that it ever is. And I'm not what's the word, a romantic really. I'm not a dreamer. I don't think it'll ever be a level playing field ever, but it's just not even close. And I think something has to be put in place. That I understand the reasons for the balloon payments, but there has to be a closer look at the contracts, that if team players do drop out of the Premier League, they're either released on a much lesser fee, or their wages get cut to a normal point. Because it's even worse if you get relegated out of the Championship to League One. If you go boom, 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 like Sunderland, for example, their balloon payment gives them a massive advantage over much, much smaller teams.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the excesses of the Championship generally, and you've been in there and you've seen it and you've competed on very uneven terms, must praise Rotherham United's housekeeping here. Very, very responsible. Obviously, you've got a smaller stadium than most, smaller crowds. Everything's smaller. But you look at some clubs spending maybe 150% of their income is going out the door. This is so reckless. You can't blame parachute payments, but they do distort the picture and tempt people, don't they? They tempt people to become irresponsible.
Yeah, well, I had something the other day. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been the gentleman you were talking about. I watched him talking to the politicians yesterday, the head of the EFL. And he was saying it's like the biggest and most expensive lottery ticket you'll ever buy, trying to get in the Premier League. Now, if teams are coming down from the Premier League with, trying to keep their teams together, and then all the other Championship teams are trying to get up there, then it's like, look, if we don't spend X amount, we've got no chance of competing. And then what happens is, clubs overspend, but they have owners from abroad who are prepared to fund it for so long. And then things just spiral out of control. And that's what's happened, driven a lot by agents. But obviously, you can't blame the players. If you offered me £1,000 a week or £10,000 a week, have a wild stab in the dark at which contract they want to sign. So I understand that, but it is making it more and more difficult, quite obviously, and it is making people pay stupid money for sometimes not mediocre players. I don't mean it like that, but maybe overpriced. It just doesn't make it level. It makes the teams in the middle fight even harder to overspend. The teams that come up have to spend a lot to just be able to compete. And I thought we competed really well last year, but we were still unsuccessful. But I think we were one of only 2 teams who made money that year. But fans don't want to hear that. Fans want to hear that you're doing well and you've got a chance to go up again. So it is really difficult if you get into the Championship now to get into the next echelon of the league, really, because money is king.
Yeah. Well, maybe all this will change. The landscape will change. We'll see a far more realistic approach. In the future.
Well, I'd like to think so, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it is the hope that from the negative, some positives will come. I mean, Simon, with an FA hat on, you probably can't get involved in the conversation that we just had about parachute payments. Nevertheless, you are a football supporter, and when we spoke on the phone prior to you coming on, you weren't abashed to tell us where your loyalties lie. I mean, we all support somebody, don't we? So it's not a crime. And despite your sort of impartiality as Chief Executive of Sheffield and Hallamshire FA, you support?
Alan, I support Sheffield United. So,
wow, they're doing
picking up on
no need to be ashamed whatsoever of that. I mean, what's happened there is miraculous and down to fantastic football management. I'm sure you would agree.
Absolutely agree. And picking up on Paul's earlier thoughts, I think Sheffield United are probably a good example of how a club doesn't have to spend silly money in order to gain promotion to the Premier League. So hopefully the work that Chris and the team are doing there at United is an example to others. So well played, United. But I'd also like to acknowledge the work that Rotherham United do. I do some work with Jamie and Paul Douglas at the club, and whilst we talk about on-field stuff, there's an awful lot goes off the field. So it's not all about which level the team is playing at. The team off the pitch do some great work in Rotherham around different initiatives. Or only yesterday, Jamie was telling me that the volunteering and painting the community centre. So really good stuff happens around the pro clubs, all of them across the patch.
Paul, just picking up on that point, footballers get hammered, don't they, at times for allegedly being selfish and wanting this and wanting that. But there's, and I've seen it, and I've talked to you many times about the good that your players do in the community. There is an awful lot of good done by footballers, isn't there, that they're not shouting from the rooftops about?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, at the moment, because we're not talking about football, there is more about the community. And I think, like, our community team, unbelievable, like all the things they've done. I was embarrassed that I did an interview a few weeks ago and I knew I was going to get asked about it. So I said to Jamie, I said, what else do you do, mate? Because I don't know everything he does. And he was saying they've been doing food parcels, been doing deliveries. And it's pretty endless. And I don't think, and you're right, apart from the match of the day when you watch it on the Sunday morning, they sometimes go, well, they do, don't they? They always go to a club and they show what they're doing in the community. And I think some people might watch that and think, no, they're only doing that today because the cameras are there. But that is definitely not the case. So we employ loads of people to help out in the community, in schools. It isn't just trying to promote our football club, because obviously there's always that little bit at the bottom. But it's just about trying to promote good people, healthy people, trying to help vulnerable people, and trying to reach out in the community. And that's why I think that football's really missed, because it is like a diamond in society. It's like I don't mean to be flippant, I don't want to offend anyone here, but for some people it's like their church. It's like I always make a joke when I took my son to Norwich, but when I watch Norwich play, that at 2:45 it feels like everyone's walking to the church. Not normally at 2:45 I'm in the change rooms having a heart attack. So football clubs do play a massive part in society, and the players do. My players are unbelievable. I only sign really good people, and I know people get bored of me saying it, but I do. I only want to sign people I want to spend time with and who can understand the bigger thing. And the players do no end in the community all the time, at schools and hospice and hospitals, and it's just really good what they do. At the moment, I'm watching a documentary, if you're bored, on Amazon, The Ashes, the Australian cricket team. And I'm not a massive cricket fan, but I enjoy it. And that's really good. And he's saying, preaching to his players about how you've got to be good people and represent this country in everything you do and everything you speak about. And I think there's always going to be 1% of footballers who went to a party in lockdown. I mean, massive shock there. I don't think he's the only person in the country who's done that. And footballers are always going to get criticised, because people love to, I know it sounds awful, but love to hate, really, I suppose, to a certain extent.
It might be jealousy.
Yeah, there is that aspect. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, not every footballer's an angel. I don't expect the people to think that. But my football team are brilliant players, like really good kids, always trying to do things. Whenever someone comes in with a sponsor form, they're the first to do it. We've had some really bad times this year with, like, Richie obviously losing his brother, Crooksy losing his best mate, Dan Barley's losing a close family friend, myself. So it's been tough, but you really see the characters you've got within a football club. And irrelevant of the football score on a Saturday, and I said this to someone the other day, I don't judge my football club, our football club, by the result on a Saturday. It's much, much more than that. It's a much stretches really well in the community. Try to do the right thing all the time, wearing the Rotherham United badge, and that makes me hugely proud to be the manager of that team. And it's the same with Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, Chesterfield, Barnsley. Football clubs do a lot of good things. Yeah,
well, at the moment, the New York Stadium, I think, is hosting, if that's the right word, probably the wrong word, a test for health workers. Am I right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they've done that for a few days now, and I knew. I was with the chairman yesterday, and he got a phone call asking, "Is it all right if the army done some sort of parade for VE Day on the pitch?" Which made me laugh, because I could just imagine the groundsman thinking, "Oh, please no, stand on the pitch." They'll all have to have like slippers on. It'll be unbelievable. He'll go behind them with a leaf blower, get the grass back up. So yes, there's loads of things they're doing. I thought it was brilliant just recently with the NHS signs on all the stadiums or pitches or things like that. And I just think everyone's got a massive respect of what the NHS are doing, and I think everyone in society is trying to pull to make everyone healthy and get through this together, which is great. And football clubs obviously play a big part.
Indeed. Right, we'll come back to you for a word about where your career's at now, after remarkably reaching 3.5 years as a manager. Just to drop in some news, James Gregg can't be with us this week for his roundup. He's doing overnight shifts for the BBC at the moment, so he's is catching up on some, well, I was going to say beauty sleep. I think beauty's the wrong word, mate, James. But anyway, a bit of news mainly about Hallam FC. Don't know, Paul, whether you've seen this today. They've got a new manager. It's been all changed there. The world's second oldest football club. Stephen Whitehead, the manager, leaving after 4 years. Now, I've seen some football there at Sandygate that he can be well proud of. Steve Basford, a real pillar of the football community. Steve and his wife Jane stepping down from the helm of the club. Some 10 years, I think, Steve's been involved there. 5 of those as chairman. At least when I go there and Hallam don't win, I won't be accused of bringing a jinx. That's the usual conversation I have with Steve. So that's not going to happen in future. But it's always been a wonderful, friendly, welcoming environment there. Just as Paul has said there, the football's not been the be-all and end-all. The success of the club isn't judged by win, lose or draw. It's just a wonderful, welcoming environment. And congratulations to Steve for bringing that. And good luck to Richard Pillinger, who steps up now as chairman. I know that he'll maintain that atmosphere as well. And good luck as well to Craig Denson. Now, you remember that he's been on this show a couple of times, record-breaking former manager at Worksop Town. He resigned from Barton this week and is the new manager now of Hallam. So I think that's a great appointment and good luck to him. Does sound a good appointment.
You're going to tell me there was a job going then? I thought you were going to say in the good news is, Paul, there is a job vacancy going. I was thinking,
well, they didn't know you were available, mate.
Oh, I don't think I am, but I know what football management's like. You always need to be one step ahead. That is for sure.
Indeed. Well, look at this. Could you have imagined 3.5 years ago when initially you stepped up as caretaker at Rotherham? Could you imagine we'd be having this conversation now with you so deep into the job?
No, 3.5 years sounds a long period of time, but it hasn't seemed a long period of time. I still remember the happy days of not being a football manager. But yeah, it's surreal, really. I mean, I'm fortunate that I've surrounded myself with really good people. So, like with Hammy and Rich, had Polly for a while. I've now got Woggy in as my goalie coach. My fitness coach is really good. My physio teams, and we've just tried to recruit really good people. I mean, obviously, we can't be as competitive in the transfer market as other clubs, but we have to be clever. So, apart from Freddie the Dapo, I don't think we've ever really signed a finished article. We always have to sign like rough diamonds, and obviously some come off, some don't. Some get better under our guidance, and some we ruin, I suppose, not intentionally, but not everyone's style suits everyone. But more often than not, we've done okay, and the lads have really performed brilliantly for me, and hence why I'm still in the job. That and the fact that I think the chairman has been really patient and understanding. I think if I was the manager of another club and I'd managed to take the club down twice, I don't think I would survive. So that's pretty remarkable. I think that will make me laugh more than anything. I've done 3.5 years and done 2 relegations. I mean, that's got to be a first at any level.
And still there.
So, yeah, it's still here as we speak. I mean, I'll check the phone a minute. If I get a text off the chairman saying, unfortunately, Paul, we've decided, I mean, oh no, disaster. And the Hallam's job's gone now as well, so I'm absolutely. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it initially, as well documented. I go as far as to say I absolutely hated it, but I knew there was no one else to do it at the time. I didn't want to let the club down, and then slowly but surely I changed the people. And they say if you don't change the people, change the people. So I managed to get some players out and get the people in I wanted, the players in that I wanted, the personalities in that I wanted, and try to give a brand of football that I thought the fans would like to see. And, if nothing else, I can be, and I am, and my staff are, really proud of the feeling we have at the club. I think our reputation has come back. We're a really healthy, financially stable club. I think I don't want to bang the drum too much because it sounds a bit arrogant, but like how the chairman runs the club is sort of a bit of a blueprint for lower divisions. We don't overstretch, but then you get criticised off your fans for not doing this, not doing that at times. I understand all fans want you to spend money, but you have to do what's good for the club like today, but you have to look at next year, the year after and all that. So generally speaking, in 3.5 years, I've really enjoyed it. And I'm, like I said, I'm really proud, and I get asked to do video messages for kids' schools and people's birthdays and that all the time. And it feels surreal at times that they're asking me to do it. But after being the manager for 3.5 years, that sounds a long time. I can't keep saying it. it's been really tough at times, really tough, but really rewarding at times. And it's sort of probably made me a better bloke, made me a bit more empathetic. But there's still times where, wow, it's tough, very tough.
Well, look, I'm not just saying this because you're on the show. You're heavily in credit for me. Staying in the Championship is always going to be defying gravity at Rotherham United for any manager. You've had 2 relegations, but look, you're on course for a second promotion, which let's hope can at some stage be completed. I think you're to be congratulated for that and the way that you run the club and the kind of fellow you are. So there, don't argue with that. We're about to we're about to wind up. As ever, I'm really, really grateful to both of you guys coming on. Simon, look, it's the impossible question for the professional clubs at the moment, when football's going to restart. Have you any kind of thoughts or theories about when the Dog and Duck and whatever, all the amateur clubs can restart? Any thoughts on that?
No, I'd obviously like to give you a more extensive answer, Alan, but really we don't. I guess the government will make an announcement this weekend, and that might give us some clues. We're all ready. We're wanting to get back going again. And the messages we get from clubs is that they're wanting to crack on with affiliation. So we're ready to go. But clearly there's a bigger picture here, and we all need to do whatever we need to do to protect the NHS and to keep people safe. Hopefully there's some positive news at the weekend. But to give you a straight answer, Alan, we really don't know at this time when football will resume.
No, but we can kind of see which way the tide's going, and it's sort of going in the direction now of a gradual return to work is what Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, is expected to announce at the weekend. And even that, is going to be a morale boost, isn't it, Paul? Just bringing you in for the final time, just giving us a little bit of hope there and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been. I don't think it's been a long 6 or 7 weeks, personally. I can't speak for everyone. People will be watching this think, oh, it's all right for you. But I honestly feel like now that the figures are going, obviously dropping. My missus tells me every day, but tells me how many people we've unfortunately lost, and they're going in the right direction. And we're only a few weeks behind Germany and Italy, and you can see how their lines are slowly coming back. And I just think the last thing will be crowds in stadiums, really. So I can see grassroots football happening, I don't know when, 2 months, 3 months down the line, possibly. They're talking now that we could have behind closed doors probably the end of June. But, it's just rumours, I know. But it's probably, and I have seen an article that says there's more chance of the grassroots coming back before the professional game.
Yeah.
So there is a potential of that. And I just think the sooner we loosen things here and there, we all want the coffee shops open. That is an absolute disaster. So as soon as Starbucks can open again, that would be great. But I think, the summer's coming. I mean, the one blessing is if we'd have gone through this in October, November, December, I think it would have been even harder. But the weather's been pretty kind on us, and it feels like the sun's out again this week. And I think there'll be some good news Sunday. There'll be not, extreme, but measures in the right direction. It's just slow steps. And before we know it, we'll be out the back of this, and we'll be talking to our grandkids about this in years to come.
Well, let's end there on a message of hope for the future. But as ever, it's fantastic to talk to you, Paul. Good luck for football whenever it resumes and the rest of the summer. And Simon, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Very good news indeed from Sheffield and Hallamshire FA. Thanks to you for watching. As ever, we'll try and cobble together another programme next week. I've been in touch with the legendary former Sheffield United figure about that, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Meantime,
we'll be all over that.
Sorry?
You'll be all over that, won't you? Sheffield United legend. He'll be tuning in. That will do your figures some good, that. That will do your figures some good out.
One viewer guaranteed. Woo! See you next week, folks. Cheers.